The new economic message from the MAGA Republican Party is here, and it is a little girl crying because she gets fewer dolls, and it's just tough luck. According to Donald Trump's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessant, it's a good thing. The promise of cheaper goods and economic abundance is gone, and the new MO is get used to less and like it because you're sacrificing for your country. You know, before we play the clip, I think it's important to remember that for decades, the Republican ideology was more stuff for less money, even crap we don't need, tchotchkes from China, right? More stuff for less money. But now it's we're going to have fewer things and they're going to cost a little more. But little girls didn't need all those dolls anyway, as Donald Trump said. This contradicts the entire Republican ideology. So let's start with this surreal moment from Trump's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessant. Bessant says, if little girls are sad about having fewer dolls, it should be explained to them, we are sacrificing for the future. Everybody will get a better life thanks to you having fewer dolls. Listen to this.
The other thing, too, is this reporter behind me was quite snarky the other day when President Trump talked about the girl having two dolls. And he said, well, what? President didn't take the question, but he said, what would you tell that girl? And I said, I would tell that young girl that you will have a better life than your parents, that you and your family, thanks to President Trump, can now be confident again that you will have a better life than your parents, which working class Americans had abandoned that idea. Your family will own a home. You will be able to advance. You will have a good education. You will have economic freedom. That's what we are advancing.
This is not a parody, okay? This is not satire. This is a defense of policies that are going to reduce the availability of consumer goods. They're going to drive up prices and they're going to shrink choices. This is the opposite of what Trump and Republicans have run on for how long? I mean, Trump for 10 years and Republicans for decades. And what they're telling Americans is smile through the pain, just keep smiling. And it's a total and complete reversal of what they told us that they stood for. Remember, we're going to win so much. Everything will be cheaper. You're going to get tired of winning. We're going to have so much of everything, no empty shelves. Now it's you're going to get less. The shelves may empty, and you should be thankful. You should say, thank you, sir. May I have another? And the new framing of sacrifice is basically the rich people, the billionaires and the almost billionaires have decided it's really worth it for you to sacrifice, not them. It's worth it for you to sacrifice. Now, the statement that Bessant was referring to, Trump's made it a few times, but here is Trump in that recent interview with NBC News' Kristen Welker, where he talked about the dolls.
Said this week, got a lot of attention. You were at your cabinet meeting. You said, quote, I'm going to quote what you said, maybe the children will have 2 dolls instead of 30 dolls. Yeah. And maybe the 2 dolls will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. Are you saying that your tariffs will cause some prices to go up?
No, I think the tariffs are going to be great for us because it's going to make us rich.
But you said some dolls are going to cost more. Isn't that an acknowledgement that some prices will go up?
I don't think a beautiful baby girl that's 11 years old needs to have...
Is an 11-year-old a baby? But anyway, that's not the main issue.
30 dolls. I think they can have 3 dolls or 4 dolls because what we were doing with China was just unbelievable. We had a trade deficit of hundreds of billions of dollars with China.
Trump is proposing a deliberate reduction in living standards by their own metrics. He's openly advocating for higher prices and less access to goods, and he frames it as patriotism. An 11-year-old baby girl, Trump says, doesn't need so many dolls. Now, I am the first to say we should challenge unbridled consumerism and all the cheap crap. And, you know, I'm with you on that. But this is the opposite of what Republicans have claimed to believe. And it's the opposite of what Donald Trump promised his followers. The entire ideology is market capitalism, supply side economics, more is better, more goods, more choice, lower prices, rising consumption. Why does the government get to tell you how many dolls you need? Why is it the president who says we're now a nanny state? I will decide how many dolls an 11-year-old baby girl gets to have. It's a weird authoritarian austerity. Less stuff, more sacrifice, imposed from the top down, sold to the public with a weird mix of economic nationalism and culture war rhetoric. And what's the justification? Supposedly it's to punish China with higher tariffs. But who pays the tariffs? You do. It's a tax on American consumers. It's been proven again and again. We learned it with the farmers during Donald Trump's first term who had to be bailed out. So let's call it what it really is: economic gaslighting. First, they promise you prosperity and abundance. Now they promise you pain and scarcity and tell you that it's noble. So if you're 11, who else here has an 11-year-old baby girl? When your 11-year-old baby girl cries because there's only $2 available and they cost more, remember that this is part of Trump's vision for a greater and better America. Does anyone believe this crap? I think at least millions, if not tens of millions of Magapotamians do seem to be falling for it. Now, on the bonus show today, we're going to be talking about rising tensions with India and Pakistan. We are going to talk about the chaos at Newark Airport. What is going on there? And major concerns are growing about Senator John Fetterman. I read an extraordinarily disturbing article about him over the weekend and how allegedly disconnected from reality he is in a medical sense. If even 10% of the allegations are true, it's very bad. Very, very bad. So we're going to talk about all of that and more on the bonus show. Please remember to get on my newsletter, Substack newsletter. Yesterday, I went live with Aaron Rupar. We had a great nearly hour-long discussion about the state of independent media. We're going to be publishing it to the Substack. You can find it at davidpakman.substack.com, or you can email me, info@davidpakman.com, and say, David, get me on that newsletter. You'll get all of the stuff. You'll be notified when I go live and all of it. We will see you on today's bonus show. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow with the Friday show. Why not? If you're like me, you may have found yourself standing in front of a massive wall of wine at the grocery store, clueless and unsure what to pick. Thankfully, I found a better way, and that's Naked Wines. Our sponsor, Naked Wines, just connects you directly with the best independent winemakers in the world, brings award-winning wines right to your doorstep. I recently cracked open a bottle from Naked Wines, and it was great. No distractions, no screens, just a great glass of wine and unwinding at home. My girlfriend prefers the red wine. I prefer the white wine. Naked Wines makes it easy to split a box between the two, and the prices are unbeatable because they remove those retail middlemen, and it lets the winemaker offer high quality wines at up to 60% off typical prices. Everybody wins. The independent wineries thrive, and you get great wine without breaking the bank. No membership fee, no commitment. You can pause or cancel at any time. Easy, stress-free wine shopping. Now's your chance to try Naked Wines yourself. Head on over to nakedwines.com/Pacman, click enter voucher, and use my code Pacman for both the code and the password. You'll get 6 bottles of delicious wine for just $39.99, including shipping. That is $100 off your first 6 bottles.